if I'm gonna walk my hallway knowing she's still alive.
Now go finish the job.
Oh,
I have been wanting to do this
for a real long time.
Hey guys, welcome to Happywax TV. So tonight we are talking Fear PHarm 2, which obviously is the sequel to last year's Fear PHarm, a movie that I absolutely enjoyed. These movies, you have to keep in mind that they are like ultra low budget, okay? I'm not sure how they fund these movies, if they have like a Kickstarter. I never actually investigated it, but I mean, these are not big budget movies, so you have to keep that in mind when you sit down to watch them. But I really did enjoy the first movie. Basically what it is this family's found like a method through human genes that can reverse the effects of aging, or at least stop it. So what they've done is they own this farm, okay, and they have this set up every year for like a Halloween kind of a event, you know, with the corn maze and stuff like that, the haunted corn maze. And when you come in, okay, they scan your wrist, okay, that has this, it makes it look like they're taking your ticket by scanning you. But what they're doing is they're scanning your skin, and if you have this certain gene that they're looking for, then they kidnap you in this corn maze, and then they kind of harvest your skin. And it was great. I loved this. The first one, it was gory. The family interaction was fantastic because it's not just people like you and I. I mean, there's these hulking, mutated brothers in this family. And it was great how they interacted because, you know, whenever you watch like The Hills Have Eyes or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or movies of that line where there's these killer families, okay, you always wonder what they do after the killing stops. Like, obviously, they just don't stand around and do nothing until more. Like, they have to go home at some point. They obviously have to eat and interact with each other, and that's what this family does. The family meeting in the first movie was absolutely fantastic because they're all sitting around, and before the father, Herschel, played by John Littlefield, comes in and gives like this speech, they're all sitting there, these mutant men. They're talking about how good the one guy's cupcakes were, okay? And this guy's a big 8-foot hulking, he's got like this leather skin mask on and he wields the chainsaw, and they're all raving about how good his cupcakes are. And I thought, this movie is fucking fantastic. Like, you never see this stuff because it doesn't take itself seriously. And that's what made it so good. I loved it. I really did. I think I gave it like a 6.5 or a 7. Anyways, this movie picks up right after the first one ends, okay? And at the end of the first one, they kidnap Melanie, okay? She's the last survivor, I guess, that they haven't killed. And at the very end, she cuts her throat, and they give the impression that she dies, okay? Well, she doesn't, because they saved her, okay? And they've put her in this coma along with all these other kids. Like, they must have had a little bit bigger budget for this one because there's a lot more cast in this one. So the gist of the second one is, okay, that these kids escape, okay, and they're in this corn maze, and the family's hunting them down, okay? And at one point, one of the brothers gets killed, okay? So Herschel, the father, loses his shit, and he says, you know what? Fuck them. I want them all dead because they killed my boy. That's what this movie is. And it works for this movie, okay? But they are definitely gonna make more of these, all right? Just the way it ended. To give this movie, I'm gonna give it like a 5.5, okay? And I'll explain why. But it's definitely worth a watch, all right? But it is not as good as the first movie. It's not. It kind of falls into that sequel trap where they've already explained everything they need to explain, and this movie just feels like an extension of the chase scenes in the first movie. And that's pretty much it. Like, we're given a flashback sequence at the very beginning of the film when the mom was still alive, who was a doctor / scientist, and she has found this gene, okay, that reverses the effects of aging, or at least stops it, and she's trying to get her husband Herschel on board, and he's kind of reluctant, okay? But eventually he gets on board and he runs the family now, and this is what they do and how they make money, is kidnapping these kids and stripping away pieces of their skin throughout their body, and then it's almost like they harvest them, because then the skin grows back and then they, peel off more. But they need, not a lot of people have this gene in their skin. So, they're few and far between, so they have to keep the kids alive that they have. But now they've escaped, and they've killed one of the family members. And that's it. It's pretty much, like, this movie's an hour and 14 minutes long, so it's got a great runtime, but a lot of it is just them running through the cornfields. You know what I mean? Trying to escape, and then there's like confrontation, and then they're trying to escape, and then there's confrontation, which is fine. But I just wanted, I don't know. You have to watch the first movie. If you want to understand what's going on here in this sequel, you have to watch the first movie. I did read some comments on some review pages, and a few people were saying they didn't understand this movie. It was terrible. I didn't understand what was going on. It makes no sense. Well, it does. It makes perfect sense, but you have to watch the first movie to understand what is going on, okay? Because you can't pick up on it just through the the 2-minute flashback they have at the very beginning of the film. You should really watch the first one, and again, these aren't very long. They're just over an hour and 10 minutes, or an hour and 15 minutes. So it's not like you're sitting there for 4 hours watching 2 movies. So anyways, but you have to watch the first one. But when you get into this one, it's good. Like, the acting in these movies is great. It really is. For a micro-budgeted movie, like, John Littlefield is an amazing actor, okay? And his portrayal of Herschel, kind of the leader or the father of this family, his fantastic. Every time he speaks, he just commands the screen. Okay, and he's even better in this movie, because there's a scene where he's crying, literally crying over his dead son. You don't get that type of acting in like big budget movies sometimes, and he is fantastic. Like, the whole cast here is great, the way they interact, and that's what I love about these micro-budgeted movies. I always stress a few things. You have to have a half-decent story, okay? It doesn't have to be killer, but it has to be half-decent, which this is. It's kind of a cool idea. Okay, you have to amp up the gore. If you're going to make a horror movie, you have to amp up the gore. Now, the gore in this movie is okay. There's some scenes, I thought the gore in the first movie was a lot better. This one has a little more CGI in it. There's one scene, though, where a girl gets electrocuted on a fence and her eye pops out, and it literally like splats on the camera lens, which I thought was cool. It's kind of bad CGI, but I appreciated the effect anyways. But you have to have good acting, and everyone, for the most part, in this movie is good. Their acting chops are fairly decent. You can argue with me if you want, okay, but don't come at me and say, oh, this movie was terrible, blah, 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 because of the acting, because it really wasn't. Like, the acting is what saves movies like this a lot of the times. I don't know, I did enjoy this movie, but again, it fell into this sequel kind of a route where it's more like of an action movie than it is a horror movie, because a lot of this is just running around a corn maze, like, kids trying to escape, then there's confrontation. Kids trying to escape, then there's confrontation. That's it. And we have like a 2 bookends. You get a little story at the beginning, and then you get a very little bit at the end, showing that they want to make more of these movies, okay, the way this movie ends. And I want more of these, but they have to go in a different direction. They really do. They cannot stay on this farm, and they cannot keep this same idea of just chasing these kids that are trying to escape. Like, there has to be something different if they're going to make like a 3rd one or a 4th one, to keep like this Walker family interested, or me interested in the Walker family, sorry, because they've got something good here. They really do. But they need to change it up for the 3rd one. At least that's my opinion anyways, because this one was right on the borderline of not being very good. Is it watchable? Absolutely. But you have to watch the first movie. So anyways, guys, give this one a watch. I recommend it. I certainly hope they make more. I just hope they go in a different direction. And at the end of this movie, there is a good chance that they might, if they broaden their horizons. So you'll see what I mean at the end. So anyways, it's called Fear PHarm 2. It's out now. It's definitely worth a watch. Just again, make sure you watch the first movie first so you know what the fuck's going on. And then Come back and let me know what you think of these movies. I enjoy them. I think this Walker family is something new, the way they interact. You'll see what I mean when you watch it. But yeah, give it a watch. Let me know what you think, guys. And until next time, stay scared.